Victoria 3 has a problem, and today I have the solution through ordering our vassals. You see, currently subjects can't really do a lot in Victoria 3, but today that all changes, with all sorts of new diplomatic actions for us to use on our vassals. And of course, if you're playing as Victoria, you'll have many puppets, dominions, protectorates, but if you're playing as a smaller nation, you may not, and that's what I'm going to do in this video, where we're going to take a look at the best order expansion mod, offering new diplomatic actions to control the construction queue of our subjects, or entirely ban their industry. You can increase their working hours up the wazoo, and we have some new funding options to explore as well. In this video, of course, I'm going to start small, playing as Persia, and I'm going to try and grab a couple of small states nearby, using my military might, and of course, going through the game just as you normally would. Do the diplomatic action, try and force them to be a vassal. Of course, what we're not going to do is take their territory, which would probably normally be the thing you just do by default, because you want to be able to control the resources that you're capturing. So here you can see I'm moving through, activating the diplomatic play, and thankfully in this case, my opponents decided to just back down and accept their subjugation. Speaking of subjects, by the way, vassals, puppets, tributaries, they all fall under the banner of subject for this video, and so here on out, I will just refer to them as that for simplicity's sake. And of course, we can interact with them all the same way thanks to this wonderful mod. Before we jump into the real specifics of it though, a quick word from today's sponsor, Clash of Clans. It's a real-time strategy game set, of course, in a fantasy-themed world. It tasks us as players to build our own villages, starting small and growing ever more powerful. Using the resources we gain from attacking other players' villages, and with a diverse variety of troops ready to deploy where and when at our own will, you will ultimately earn rewards, or you could buy them with medals, or perhaps even produce them yourself in your village. One of the things that I really like about Clash of Clans are the loads of updates and new content that are rolled out very frequently. So, why not support the channel and download Clash of Clans for free today? You can use the cute QR code on screen or links below. Now, back to our scheduled broadcasting, and let's take a look at this new diplomatic action. So of course, I'm going to navigate down to the diplomacy screen, and as you can see at the moment, Kalat and Makran are actually fairly happy with me. Spoiler alert, that may not stay that way. Under the diplomatic lens, you can see Order Vassal, and here they are, my two vassals, showing up, easy to interact with, right? Once you click into it, you'll notice an interesting prompt. It'll open up this command menu, and here you see, much like the events that are normally in Victoria 3, a variety of options for our dominions, protectorates, and so on. We could order our vassals to build buildings, enact an industrial ban, increase their working hours beyond belief to really up their productivity, and a variety of other things around paying the bills too. The important thing to note here is that this mod gives us incredible control over our vassals, far more than we've ever seen before. For example, we could jump into this one here. Let's change their working hours. We have options. 14 hours is alright, you can see, plus 15%, and some standard of living declines. If we up it even more though, we can get plus 30%. Plus 40% even, if we want to force them to work 18 hours a day. And for the purpose of this video, I think that's what I'm going to do. Looking down again, you can see that there's an industrial ban, forbidding the country from developing any industry. I don't think I'll do that, but instead what we're going to do is click through the state and then determine what they want to build. You can see clear categories from agriculture through to resources and plantations. So I figure, why don't we set up this satellite state to produce a whole load of opium plantations? We know that they produce a lot of cash money in Victoria 3, so it seems like a good idea for Kalat to focus on that. By the way, they will be building it within their own territory, and it will start to put a little bit of an extra cost on us. So as we move through, we may need to fiddle a little bit like I'm doing here with taxation, just to try and keep things balanced. If we jump back into this wonderful menu again though, you can see that there's also a pay the bill option. Note that we should assume that every construction point costs £1,000. Here we're choosing how much money we want to give them to enable the construction that we're forcing upon them, and those really pesky long working hours. You can choose nothing, 50%, 100%, or be extra generous and give them 120%. For the purpose of this video, that's what I'm going to do there. I'm going to try and balance upping their productivity without completely and utterly making them hate me. If we look into our next vassal, of course, we have plenty more options to play with. The important thing to remember is that each vassal will be very different. And so when you're queuing up constructions, you might want to think carefully about what they actually have and where you can extract the most value. In my experience, the work option should go all the way up to full. Playing around with the funding options a little bit here, I'm not entirely convinced that it's having the effect that I'd like. But what I really love is this menu, the building types. It's important to note that we can jump in and get these states to really specialize on what they want to do. The mod at the moment is limited, of course, as you will have noticed, to buildings at 1, 5, or 10 intervals, so you can't actually specifically control the number, but I found in my experience, honestly, that didn't matter. What does matter though is the balance books, because of course don't forget, as you ramp up spending in your satellite states, your subjects, that will take its toll. However, none of their constructions will be added to your queue. And of course you can access it through this menu as well, so if you don't feel like going through other ways, there are plenty of ways to access the new Order Vassal diplomatic action. We're going to return to that in a little bit, but there is another part of this, and it's about funding. Of course, we can fund their internal construction, but another thing that's changed is the bankroll function. Now, as Persia, granted, I'm probably not going to be bankrolling anybody, especially looking at my balance book at the moment. But of course, if we jump across to mighty Queen Vic in Great Britain, you'll notice there's a whole load of bankroll options available. What this mod does is remove the traditional caps that the game puts around these, enabling particularly large and wealthy powers, like I'm doing here, to go absolutely nuts. Now, why might you want to do this? Well, you can support perhaps political allies, and of course you can slowly gain favor over them as well by funding them. Could be something for you to play around with, but take care, because man alive, that balance book will disappear fast. Jumping back to Persia, where Great Britain is bankrolling 10% of our income now, nicely done. You can see our satellite states, our subjects are moving along just nicely, although their diplomatic favor, or their opinion of us, I should say, is starting to wane a little bit. Spoiler alert, that's about to get a whole lot worse. One of the key things that can ruin it is the industrial ban, which prevents factories in your subject country from obtaining raw materials and producing products. Take note though, it'll cause significant rise in radicals in your subject to really go crazy like you've never seen before. Jumping back into the construction though, I was really taken away when I jumped in and took a look. You can see it play out in real time as if the state was your own one. Here you can see I've also clicked to the fact that adding construction sectors will be a way that we can really ramp up our vassals. So, what are we doing? We're making their working hours 18 days long. We're making sure that they have construction sectors, and then I'm looking into the specific territory and saying, what do I want you to do? I want you to be my logging camps, and so we cram them all in. Maybe you move to a state along the sea and construct them to build wharfs, fisheries, that kind of thing. One of my favourite touches, though, has to be this, stacking all of those opium plantations, because as you can see, our balance book is very much going to need it. If we cast our eyes to the right, you'll see the game has really barely started. We're only 3 years in, and we've already got 2 vassals online, and we're riding them pretty hard. We're also hurting our balance book though, and so my word of caution would be to take it slow, take it easy, and work your way in. Going hard and aggressive like this on your vassals may not pay off. The other thing, of course, to consider is radicalism and the rise of radicalism. Changing their working hours will affect your relationship with them. Go figure. But really enacting the industrial ban will be the nail in the proverbial coffin, I think. You'll send radical numbers upwards, but also you'll really put stress on the populations themselves. Don't forget that you need working age populations to keep the economy driving. So my word of caution would be to approach this with ease, but really delve into the changes, because in particular, being able to manage their construction queue is something I've been looking for since the game released. A huge shout out to the creators of this mod. Thank you for all of the work you do, and thank you for watching this video. Finally, a quick note, we recently crossed over 48,000 subscribers, putting us within reaching distance of that mighty 50,000. Thanks so much for all of the support, and thanks again to Clash of Clans for reaching out and sponsoring this video. Links below for further information. Take care.